We're about to talk about nutrition. You might remember from the first session a little bit about the components of nutrition and what we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be eating. So this is nutrition as we age. So just going to go very briefly. I'm going to try sharing my screen, and let's see. This is the first Zoom I've ever hosted. So y'all bear with me. We will keep our fingers crossed. So I'm going to share my screen with y'all. And all right. So let's just see. So session one obviously was talking about the components of how we are to be eating healthy. I think I told y'all how important nutrition is to me and what my food allergies and all that. So I really do believe that we are what we eat. And so we've been taught that at a very early age. And then we're going to talk today about nutrition and how it affects our aging. So going back to session one, think about, and y'all might have already done this last time, this was, I guess, almost a month ago, what is a barrier to you to eating healthy? Is it the other person that you live with wants to eat junk food? Is it, difficulty maybe buying things at the store? Is it income, travel? So just think of what is your main barrier for making healthy choices. And, y'all might make healthy choices all the time. I don't. I am not perfect. So I try, but still. So anything that, and we'll get back to this in just a minute. So just identify what is that main barrier to make those healthy choices. Going back over nutrition guidelines about what our Choose My Plate was. Y'all remember the handouts on Choose My Plate from session one of making sure that half of your plate are supposed to be fruits and vegetables, and half of your, or the quarter of the plate is supposed to be more protein, and then making sure that you're choosing low fat yogurt, things like that. The other part or the quarter of that is that your grains are supposed to be whole grains. And we talked a little bit about ancient grains and eating things like quinoa and sorghum and teff and buckwheat and things like that that are more whole grains. And then making sure that you are drinking less sugary drinks and making sure that you're drinking more water and staying hydrated. So you might want to refer back to some of those first session handouts a little bit about some of the details, because we're not going to get as involved in that, because I know you're already doing all those things, right?
Right.
Right. So eating healthy, definitely making sure that you're trying to, when you have your fruits and vegetables, that you are trying to choose colors of the rainbow. Aiming for variety, don't eat the same thing every day. There are a lot of people, and from working in independent living, that like to eat the same thing every day, and our body needs variety. Cutting back on fast food and making sure that you're eating in moderation, looking at what you're eating, and then following the 80-20 rule. So if we don't eat healthy like we should, and it's more of the 80-20 rule is 80% we're eating what we're supposed to be eating. The 20% is we can have some snacks and some things that we splurge on. But if that's just the reverse, we got to change it to where we're eating 80% healthy and just being consistent. The benefits of eating healthy, Um, Obviously, are being able to have better sleep. If you are drinking caffeine after 6 o'clock in the evening and you're having difficulty sleeping, you need to look at that. Eating a lot of sugary foods before you go to bed definitely can affect how you sleep, as well as pounds that we might put on. Eating healthy also helps our energy levels and feeling good, making sure that if you might have noticed that if you eat a lot of sugary foods, it also affects our cognition. It might give you a brain fog. Um, if you're like me and you have gluten intolerance, that definitely gives you a brain fog if you have those problems. So some people have said, even with gluten and different food intolerances, is that, well, I've eaten those things all my life and I think I've been fine. But even as we get older, it changes and you can develop an intolerance even, at our age. So keep that in the forethought. Eating healthy lowers your risk of disease and illness, which we definitely need to do in a pandemic. um, Making sure that we are improving our body composition, muscle mass, bone density, and we'll get into that again in just a little bit, but also just feeling better. So I'm just going over session 1 a little bit and reviewing that. So the next thing is the activity is thinking of what are you going to have for supper, or what did you have for supper last night? And with that supper, did it meet the Choose My Plate guidelines? So, or think of some typical meals for you during the week. Does anybody want to share what they had or what their usual typical meals might be?
Well, my dinner last night was stuffed peppers. I make it with an Italian sausage mix versus plain old beef. So there is a little more fat, but it gives it a whole lot more flavor. I used rice, I used mushrooms in it. So I had 2 vegetables, and then I had a side of ratatouille, which is nothing but vegetables. It's eggplant, squash, mushrooms, onions, garlic, whatever.
Yum.
And then broccoli. So yeah, we had a lot of vegetables last night.
Yeah, you did.
Not always that way. But yeah, we did last night.
Okay, good deal. Brad, you and Laura doing okay on the healthy eating?
Well, we could use some improvement, I think. But yeah, basically, we had chili last night. We usually have a really light supper. I can't eat heavy in the evening. It makes me feel terrible.
Good.
But we usually have our largest meal in the middle of the day. And yesterday for lunch, we had pork chops and applesauce and green beans and baked sweet potato for lunch. Last night we had chili, but it was heavy on tomatoes and onions and vegetables. So it was healthy chili.
Yeah, no, that's
but just a small bowl of it.
good deal. So that sounds like y'all are right on path. You
Yeah.
didn't have McDonald's hamburger with French fries and
We don't do much fast food.
no, we
No.
don't either.
No. I think our fast food used to be, not anymore, but it used to be lunch at Chick-fil-A, maybe a salad or a couple of those small things that you can put together, like their nuggets or their, they have a couple of those little green salads that
Yeah.
are small, not the big one. But that's about it. You know, because of my strange taste buds, certain things don't taste well. So it's a stay away from certain foods. And one of them is fried food. other than occasionally having a good solid piece of chicken. Gotta have that. But it's a tough thing. I work around that and trying to incorporate the fact that someone else eats everything in sight. So whatever's on the table gets eaten, whether I eat it or not. So it doesn't matter a whole lot. But we stay away from fast foods pretty much.
Yeah, that's great. We do too. We might go to splurge once a week or so on Spirits Tavern hamburgers, and get a side of green beans, or splurge and get tater tots. But there's my 20%. With that. But you seem to be very healthy.
That's what we do. We if we're out shopping or something, that's when we eat fast food or something like that. And I guess the worst is I like to go to IHOP and eat all the pancakes I can get them to bring me.
They do have those multi-grain pancakes, or at least they used to.
Well, they're good too.
Yeah.
It's the butter
for once in a while, right?
That's right. Enough syrup makes them cardboard taste wonderful.
My daughter used to always get the chocolate chips, the little smiley face thing when she was little. But we gotta splurge every once in a while. So that's great. The other thing was, definitely go back. This was from session 1 about the fruits and vegetables of the rainbow, where it gave you ideas of different things. You give yourself some variety. The different colors of the rainbow, of course, beetroots and eggplant, which Diane had last night, purple potatoes, turnips, So there's a whole variety. I won't go over those, but it is a really good handout that gives you the benefits of those vegetables and helping to be able to maintain our immune system and our heart function and our digestive tract and all those good things. So that just a little bit of a rerun on session 1. But today we're going to talk more about the nutrients that we need specifically as we age and what those specific items are. And then we're even going to talk about taste buds and how that changes. So let me check. And move to what happens as we age. So I know I may be a little bit younger than y'all, maybe just a couple of years, but I definitely know that as I've gotten older, I can tell differences in my body and what's going on. So we're going to talk about those changes. And so, first of all, behavior. Our behavior changes. And it's definitely easy to get into a bad food habit. It's with the pandemic, I don't know about y'all, sometimes food can be a go-to, it can be a comfort, it can be a reward. And sometimes if you're just really totally stressed, you're just not eating the way that you should be. So what's going on in our behaviors is very important, but it changes as we age. Maybe even we don't get as much activity, but I know with you two, I'm preaching to the choir here because y'all are always active and you're always exercising, going and walking and doing and working in the yard and all that. So, but for some folks, they may not be. And so that lesser amount of activity affects our intake and what we want to do. Our cognition changes as we get older, and it doesn't necessarily have to, but there's definitely a change in the brain cells and our memory and our processing speed, our reaction time. So, for example, all the things that we do like in our balance class, we're trying to work on being able to react and recover, and being able to process faster to be able to help maintain our balance. That's all, a lot of that's cognitive as well as physical, making sure that our joints are moving, making sure that we've got strong muscles, good balance. Our orthopedic changes through our older years, the bone density, arthritis. Y'all can probably list more, but I mean, our heart, coronary artery disease, stroke, cancer, any of those definitely, we might have more tendency as we get older. But getting back to the taste buds, and this affects all of us, Diane. At age 40 to 50, the number of our taste buds decrease, and some even become benign. Then they start to shrink. So losing mass of our taste buds is something that happens between ages 40 to 50. Even though you can regenerate taste buds every 1 to 2 weeks, still we have a decrease in them. After age 60, you may begin to lose the ability to distinguish taste. You may be having difficulty with salty, sweet, sour, bitter, and something else called savory, or umami, I believe is what they're calling savory now. So that affects what we want to eat.
Yeah.
And working, with older adults in independent communities, the desire for that sweet taste, increasing the amount of salt that they put on their foods, all that is changing as we get older. Our sense of smell is also something that goes first. So, especially if you have COVID, right? God forbid, but that comes back. But the sense of smell goes first. And so normal aging, even with the sense of smell, we may have allergies, we may have respiratory problems. All that affects what tastes good, what doesn't taste good, how we feel, what we put in our mouth. And I don't know about y'all, did y'all realize that the taste buds are not just on the tongue?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So they're also on the roof of the mouth, and they're also even a little bit down in the throat, in the back of the throat. So I did not realize that. So, but those are some of the physical changes, as well as digestive changes. So if we're not active, that whole processing, if we're not eating the fiber that we need to have, our bowel movements definitely change, which makes us feel more sluggish. Also, if you're having to take medications, they can definitely affect your digestive system. And like I said before, if you have certain intolerances, that's involved with your whole digestive system as well. And then we talked about our orthopedic changes and the decrease in bone mass and bone density, that changes. So we got to make sure that we are eating healthy, making sure that as we get older, we're changing our lifestyles to meet that. I watched a course yesterday with a lady that teaches aqua aerobics, and she says, what she has done in the past, which I'm finding out myself from teaching fitness, is what I used to do with Zumba and more active and high impact type things. My body's not allowing me to do that as I age. And some people can, but mine's going to be shifting more toward the aqua part, I think, one of these days. And I'm looking forward to us having that aquatic center.
Yes.
Which will be awesome. So we just have to adapt to our changing body and our changing needs. Y'all got any thoughts on any of that, of what you found out as you have gotten older?
Well, definitely are seeing a difference in taste and smell as I get older. And some of that does definitely change the foods that I prefer.
Yeah.
Now, I stay away from salt. I have reduced kidney function and high blood pressure, so I stay away from salt pretty religiously. But I notice I crave salt more just because food doesn't have any taste without it. Like it, I used to could eat food pretty well without any salt, but now it adds more to food than it used to.
Yeah. Do you do any other kind of like seasonings to take the place of the salt?
Well, yeah, do things like more garlic and onion powder, things like that. Pepper, even though I'm not really keen on hotter
Spices. Yeah.
spices.
Right. No, that's good. I mean, remember Mrs. Dash? There's always Mrs. Dash.
Yes.
And some of the sodium substitutes and things like that to be able to spice things up a little bit. But yeah.
I use a lot of, obviously as my major oil, it's olive oil, but I use lemon in place of a vinegar or in helping give more flavor to the vegetables, especially when I roast them.
Yeah,
Put them in the oven with some powder, onion powder, garlic powder, olive oil, and a dash of lemon across it, and it pops the tastes out better for me. And lemon is, to be honest with you, about the only taste that I really like, which is that is a bit of a problem because you can't get lemon in everything. It doesn't taste always good when you do. So, but that's one of those oddities because of the radiation that killed those taste buds and changed them dramatically. I used to be a chocoholic. I can't stomach it anymore. I can smell it. I love it. I go into Paul Thomas's and I stand there and they want to know if they can help me. And I keep saying, no, I'm just smelling. Thank you very much. But I can't taste it because it's vile. It's just, yeah.
I'm sorry.
So that was a side effect that I've learned to live with for the past almost 20 years. But it's one of those things that you learn to eat differently.
Yeah.
Because of it. And it's not always the best stuff. I'd rather have a plate of pasta, which goes down easy and is tasty and warm and yummy than struggle with a piece of meat, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No,
but
that's good. And
that's what I've adapted. Yeah.
They definitely have had to adapt, but no, that's good. It's also good to hear what y'all are using and getting ideas from y'all of what we can do to spice things up or limit it up or whatever we need to do to make things taste more tasty. So let's do, I think I sent y'all about nutrients and what are the main nutrients that we need to have. So you should have a handout about those nutrients.
Yep.
And we are just going to go over those. So we're supposed to really have potassium. And we're supposed to have 4,700 milligrams a day.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. But it says that it's supposed to help to reduce sodium levels. If you've got problems with that, it helps to lower and regulate your blood pressure. And it gives you a whole bunch of good things that you can eat. Bananas obviously is one that everybody knows about with potassium. Spinach, sweet potatoes. You had your sweet potato bread. Zucchini, ground beef, fish, dates, cantaloupe. Or do y'all eat your Brussels sprouts?
Oh, yes.
I am not a Brussels sprout fan, but I'll eat my broccoli. But milk and nuts, I'm not going to go all over all of those, but that's very important for us to have to help us to keep our blood pressure regulated. And y'all know that calcium and vitamin D go hand in hand. And getting outside is one of the best things to do to get your vitamin D. Since we have been enclosed a lot in the beginning with the pandemic, we have to, and the whole seasonal affective disorder, all that, we really need to make sure that we get outside for at least like 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes to get some vitamin D from the sun is the best bet. And so I'm always going to try to talk to you about more holistic ways to be able to get your nutrients and your nutrition versus a lot of supplements. Even though if you're not able to meet and you go to your doctor and he's or she is doing your blood work and saying, hey, you're low in this, here's something for you to take and it's doctor recommended, and that's very important for you to do. So the calcium, making sure that you're maintaining that bone health. We don't want any broken bones. We want to have good, strong bones, and preserving that bone density. We need that with calcium and vitamin D, and having 3 servings a day of calcium and vitamin D is what they suggest, and very, very important. So eat your collards and your kale for calcium. Gosh, did y'all have to eat liver?
Oh,
Did your
yes.
mama make you eat liver when you were growing up?
The worst stuff in the world.
Yeah.
It was. She made it like shoe leather. I swear, it was horrid. It took a long time before I would eat liver anywhere after that.
Yeah. I don't know how much people eat beef liver anymore, but I thought, I'm surprised that this was one of the things that was suggested on there.
Yeah.
But eat your fatty fish, making sure also you get your omega-3 fatty acids with your fatty fish, with the salmon, and foods fortified with vitamin D, even like with orange juice is good. Dairy products, soy milk, various cereals are all good things. And, but yeah, 3 servings of calcium-rich foods a day. And if you think back to what your meals are usually, see if you're getting 3 servings of it a day. It's one thing to think about these things, but it's another thing to look and see what you're actually doing to see if you're actually getting it. Vitamin B12. Most people over the age of 50 don't consume enough B12. And it helps keep the body's nerve and blood cells functioning properly. So that's more of where you get your protein from, and from your meats and your beans and your dairy, eggs fortified, and fortified breakfast cereals is where you're going to get your B12. But obviously there's a lot of people that get B12 shots.
Do they still do that?
I think so. I don't know as much. What you think, Brad?
Well, I take a B12 supplement because with reduced kidney function, it attacks your thyroid, and the B12 is to protect the thyroid. Okay. But I don't know if anybody takes the B12 shots anymore or not.
And not as much as they used to, because that was all the rage.
Yeah, I remember my grandma going for her shots. We never knew what they were, but we found out later it was the B12.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the other nutrient is our fiber, and making sure that we're getting enough fiber. And, it talked a little bit about drinking orange juice, but it's better to choose, instead of a sugary drink, it's better to eat the orange to get the fiber from the orange. It's better to have all those multi-grain cereals and breads and those different ancient grains to be able to give you fiber. Because if you're having problems with your digestive system, We've got to have fiber to be able to help out and get things moving. But yeah, sources are fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, breads, grains, nuts, and oats. So making sure that you get enough fiber. And I know that was not on that sheet that they had, but so very important to replace that instead of sugary type things. So those are the main nutrients. Look at your, your meals and what you're getting. Making sure that obviously what you're choosing that you put in your body, you are what you eat. Nutrition definitely affects our health. Look at tobacco use, alcohol, and substance abuse. If you're dealing with pain, what we'll get into next session is what can we do instead of substance or tobacco or alcohol? How can we help ourselves dealing with pain and stress to be able to deal with it? How do we make sure that we decrease those items? So chronic illness and disease and prevention obviously is very, very important. Something might be genetics. Are you predisposed toward cancer or coronary artery disease or diabetes? So those big chronic diseases and all can be helped with proper nutrition, especially like diabetes. Being able to choose what we put into our body. It says that 70% of annual deaths are due to chronic disease. Among adults that are aged 20 to 74, diabetes remains the leading cause of kidney failure, blindness, and non-traumatic extremity amputations. So controlling your diet is extremely important. And I'm preaching to the choir here with you two. Y'all already know this. But making sure you're staying active, you're eating healthy, you're decreasing the tobacco, alcohol, substance abuse, keeping that immunity built up and strong to be able to deal with, God forbid, COVID or the flu, any of those type of things is very, very important. But it says studies show that realistic diet modifications in combination with our long-term lifestyle changes can prevent coronary artery disease, stroke, colon cancer, diabetes, and smoking-related concerns. So important what we put in our mouth. And that's the hard part. Going back, think for a minute. What is the barrier that keeps you from eating healthy? So are either one of y'all willing to share? I can share with you what my barrier is for eating healthy. I love sugar. I love chocolate. And so that is difficult. I have to make sure that I don't buy it and bring it in the house. And besides my food allergies, I have to really make sure I don't go to Paul Thomas too often or, celebrate the holidays too much. But I will even have my husband, if it is brought into the house, to hide it somewhere or put it in the freezer so that it slows down me eating it. So I try to make sure I don't bring sugar and unhealthy things into the house, but you have to splurge every once in a while. But for me, controlling how much my splurge is tough.
More like an obsession.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I love sweets also, and I try to steer myself to more fruit and sweets like that, but I'd also like cinnamon rolls and pastries and cake, and ice cream is my real downfall. But also one of our barriers is very different taste and eating styles between Laura and myself. So every meal is a compromise of some kind, and every item we eat is a compromise of some kind. And that makes it difficult to plan meals and come up with some kind of strategy.
Yeah. So y'all been married for a few years. Have you figured out what that strategy is yet?
Well, actually, you know, when we were both working, it was kind of just do the best we could. But since we're both retired, it's made it more difficult because we eat more meals together.
Yeah.
And also, the way we eat is very different. Laura likes a schedule and then schedule snacks between, because she thinks it helps her keep from being hungry during the day.
Right.
Me, I could forego snacks altogether. But like I say, I like that last meal to be very small. But I grew up on the farm and our big meal was during the middle of the day. And then we ate supper. And a lot of times that was just leftovers that were left out all day and you just got what you wanted. And that was the last meal of the day. Whereas she likes 3 regular meals and then the snacks in between. And that makes it hard to plan. And I do most of the cooking here, so so it starts when you go buy groceries. What are you going to do? And then it goes downhill from there.
That's good to hear.
And I'm finding this online shopping is also helping me not buy stuff I shouldn't have in the house.
That's good.
I order it like Tuesday and I pick it up usually on Thursday. And if I forget something, I'll go and add it. But it's known here, if you don't have it on the list on Tuesday, it doesn't get ordered. So that has cut down on some of that stuff. I do kind of peruse his snack stash and see what's there to be able to add to it to make sure there's no complaining. However, I find it's helped me cut down on that impulse buying you do when you see the stuff in the store. Yes, it also gets me some strange things, like when I ordered squash, I thought I was getting a pound and I got 1 little tiny squash. That was only 1. Oh, whoever was picking that order, I think they were new to the way it's supposed to be done. So we had some strange mishmash of veggies one night because of that. But it creates less, oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
Especially when I pass the bread more than the pastries. Bread and
That's
butter.
a great idea, though.
It
that might help us to not go into the grocery store hungry and want to impulse, you know.
Well, when we used to do shopping, it was always done on Thursdays, so we've gotten in that habit, but we used to go and have lunch first. Then we didn't go hungry when we went to the store, even though I had a list. I still bought stuff that was beyond the list. I think I need to become a little bit better at buying maybe less pasta. I love pasta. So maybe I've got to try and figure out different ways of doing it. And I bought all different kinds of veggie pastas and things like that. And the spiral veggies, those are pretty good.
That's what we do too. We use the chickpea pasta because I can't have regular pasta. So the chickpea pasta, and that definitely gets your fiber in there too.
Problem here in Dahlonega is, unless you want to drive to Dawsonville or Gainesville, you're kind of limited on what you can
Well, I do. I make that trip down to Dawsonville once a week just to pick up the food and then come back home.
Yeah.
It's just an hour of time down, load it in the car and drive it back. And it also gets me out of the house.
Yeah,
For
we
some
drive down as
time.
well. But we also order things from Amazon, like the chickpea pasta we order from Amazon because that's something that's a staple to us, you know.
Yeah.
So that's been nice. Bradley, I don't know. I mean, do you and Laura make a menu of the week and sort of plan things out?
No, not really.
Would
It's
that
all pretty seat of the pants. But we do eat a lot of vegetables. We put them in an iron skillet, then put them in the oven and let them roast. Maybe a mixture of vegetables, zucchini and squash, and maybe cannellini beans and some onion and such as that.
Yeah.
Good.
But then I was raised on Southern cooking myself, so gravy and fried chicken and things like that. So, but I can't eat that really. Yeah. It's just too hard on the digestive system. And I like to eat a lot of fiber.
Yeah, that's good.
Just to keep everything running smoothly.
Right.
That's the key nowadays. Keep it running.
Yeah. But no, that's good. And it might help if I know we plan out our meals ahead of time. When I'm planning out my grocery list, we plan out our meals and get input from myself and my husband of what we want to eat. And so I don't know if that would help y'all. So if you're thinking of your barriers, try to come up with 3 options, you know, before next week. Try to come up with some three goals for that barrier to help you to be able to overcome it. And so make sure that they're achievable, you know, goals and steps that you can do. And what I'm hoping to be able to do is on my Aging is Not for Sissies Facebook page, we have an open group, and to be able to start sharing some healthy menu and recipe ideas. Y'all got some great ideas there that you're already doing, and both of you cook. So I'm going to, next week, we're going to have this last session on Wednesday at 1 o'clock because I'm teaching another class somewhere else on Thursday. So next Wednesday at 1, we'll do our last session, and I'm just going to show y'all how to make some protein bites that are a healthy snack. And there's some simple ingredients, but it's something that you can mix up and even stick in your freezer and then pop them in your mouth to be able to give you some protein, as well as a little bit of a sweet taste, Bradley, for our sugar tooth that we have, our sweet tooth. And it's healthy. So that's my goal, is to be able to share ideas and be a social support for each other, because that's important for you to have folks to say, okay, hey, this is what we need to do. I mean, even if you're trying to lose weight, one thing it always says is make sure that you're not necessarily trying to go on a diet, but you're trying to start changing your lifestyle, start changing and eating healthier things and doing the Choose My Plate type stuff so that it will help you to do that and to stay active. But y'all do that anyway. But that is the goal. Let's see if we've missed anything here. So yeah, so that's what we've done, is gone back to talk about the barriers, making sure you've got some specific goals. So next session we can share those, and we talked a little bit about that. And we talked about the nutrients that we need. We talked about the different illnesses and all that we can face, and how diet and nutrition can affect those major illnesses and disease, and making sure that we are making our choices easier and breaking down, looking at our barriers and how to make those goals to where they're achievable to eat healthier. But it sounds like y'all are doing great already. We just got to preach it to the rest of the group.
That's the hard part, huh?
That is the hard part. Yes, it is. Have y'all got anything else that y'all want to share about nutrition or diet that's a concern?
Not really, but I think it is important having a place that you can share ideas, because that's some of the hardest part, is coming up with a
Something different. Yeah.
different perspective, a different idea on how to do things.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll be able to get some good input there with the Facebook open group and get some recipes started sharing, especially going into the holidays, and see if we can help each other out. Yeah.
All right.
Thank y'all so much for being here and for helping me through my very first hosting of Zoom.
Well, thank you very much. It seemed to go real good.
Yeah. So far, so good. So, and thank y'all for your great ideas. I appreciate that very much. And y'all stay healthy. And I guess I'll see y'all tomorrow or Saturday via Facebook.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be there.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And tell your families hello and staying healthy and safe.
All righty.
All right.
Yep.
You'll have a
Bye-bye.
great day.
All righty.
We
Bye-bye.
appreciate it. All right. Bye-bye.